Hey guys, so this is another video about the most recent Fakemon I've created over the past few months. I decided to do it similarly to my last video with the blue crystal caves, but not quite as intensive with the story and whatnot. It's more or less just me explaining what they are, but with a little bit of pizzazz. So I hope you guys enjoy. We shall begin in a swampy marsh to show what would happen if Shelmet and Carablast didn't need to rely on one another for evolution. It would seem that after many generations of being preyed on by Carablast, Shelmet evolved defensively into Armorgus. Research shows the species evolved convergently to resemble Amoongus. The steel body armor keeps the tender insides safe from the toxic spray of Carablast. For Shelmet to evolve, I wanted to lean heavily into defense using a knight's armor and shield as the main inspiration. But the more I thought about Carablast being a large cannon, I also wanted to include elements of a bomb squad uniform, which is why the head looks less knight-like and more like a giant black dome. I also wanted to include elements from Excelgor, so I decided to go ahead and keep the scarf that he usually has to represent the wrappings and whatnot. The name is obviously stolen from Amoongus, but with armor thrown in. Conversely, Carablast were forced to evolve into the more aggressive Cannon Blast. Using the cannon on its back, Cannon Blast shoots highly acidic liquid that can corrode any substance. The large mandibles are used to pry apart shells of smaller Pokemon. I always thought it'd be cool for Carablast to actually blast something, so I gave him a cannon. I also wanted this small bug to grow larger and look more formidable. The original Dex entry mentions Carablast spitting acid, but that's never really reflected in its design, and I wanted to fix it. So, the name just swaps Cara for Cannon for, obvious reasons. Next, we will head deep into the Rocky Mountains of this region where only the most isolated Pokemon reside. It would seem that weaker members of Phalanx are left to fend for themselves. If they cannot find a new group to join, they will eventually become a Phalanx. Only a little is known about this recently discovered species, as they only seem to come out at night and are quite rare. Further research into the relationship between this Pokemon and Snorunt has begun. Taking obvious inspiration from one of Loxton's videos, I further explored the idea of Snorunt and Phalanx being connected. I wanted to make a half fusion of the two while making it look edgy and angry at the world for being forgotten and forced to live on its own. The name swaps out Fey for foe in Phalanx, foe of course meaning fake. Flamigo are naturally proud and solitary creatures, each believing they are the most graceful dancer. While this Pokemon loves to show off its exotic ribbon-like flame dancing, it chooses to live in harsh mountain environments, making it difficult to find and watch. It is said that many famous dancers take inspiration from watching Flamigo dance. So I had the idea for a fire fairy ribbon dancing flamingo Pokemon for a very long time, but I kept putting off drawing it. And then Flamigo was released in Scarlet and Violet, so now it just looks like I made this idea from there, but I swear this was a wholly original idea from many months before Scarlet and Violet were ever released. I've always just liked the idea of a proud dancer flamingo Pokemon, and I mean, the word flame is right in the name, and then I just had to come up with the ending, so I thought ego would be good because it's a proud dancer, ego, having a big ego and all that. And the more I thought about how to include fairy, I just kept gravitating towards ribbon dancing and just imagining flames flickering in the dark night, just flying all directions, just, so cool. It just came so naturally. Now, if we keep our distance, we can observe a few Pokemon in the forest that may look familiar. Although this Pokemon shares some resemblance to Snubbull, they act completely opposite. Rebel are trained fighters and act aggressively toward people and Pokemon alike. Preferring to travel in packs, they are friendly towards others of their species. And after many battles, a Rebel can evolve into Corrigible. Upon evolution, the aggressive nature diminishes and the focus shifts to protecting its opponents from real harm. Often seen as the master for a group of Rebel, the baggy skin wrapped around its body provides extra protection for sparring and fighting alike. So my original idea for Snubbull was to create a regional variant. And I had this idea based on taking their coloring and then adjusting the hex code value to the exact same difference between the typing fairy and fighting, like the actual color of the type symbols, the icons, whatever you want to call them. And so that gave me the idea for the colors. And then when I saw the colors, I just kind of ran with it. And at the same time, that was when Scarlet and Violet announced that they were going to do convergent evolutions. And I really wanted to do something with that. So I changed my design from the original fairy fighting to just be strictly fighting. I still kept elements of the Kusith, which is what they're based on. With the green hair and the braids and the spiked ears. So I tweaked the design a little bit and came up with this. Obviously, Rebel is similar to the word rebel, as well as Red Bull for the coloring, which just happened incidentally, but at the same time, I'm not upset with it. Also, the evolution I wanted to be a calmed down version, like it grew up and got older and realized it didn't have to fight all the time. So I wanted to give it almost a monk look. So that's why I gave it the baggy skin to look like a monk's uniform, mixed with a Japanese hakama. And the name also reflects the change in this demeanor, being the opposite of incorrigible, which usually means being unable to be reformed. So it just kind of worked out so perfectly that a rebellious thing became corrigible, and I love it. Also in this region, science has been able to make some amazing discoveries. We've uncovered the crest fossil and the club fossil, and were able to revive 2 previously undiscovered fossil Pokemon. Splicing reptilian DNA with the crest fossil, scientists were able to resurrect Parashrill. The crest on its head is capable of making a loud whistling noise. Parashrill are able to control the frequency and decibel of this whistle by coiling and uncoiling their long tails. Parashrill then evolves into Cacophalosaur. Cacophalosaur communicate by whistling and tooting using the crest on their head. These sounds can be heard from several miles away. They seem to have great control over the sounds, but many people find them loud and disruptive. Due to the process used for fossil revival, which is DNA splicing, some scientists dispute this isn't the true form of Cacophalosaur that lived long ago. So my son's favorite dinosaur, and a rather well-known one at that, is the Parasaurolophus. So I had to make a Fossilmon based on that, and I wanted to make their head crest the focal point. I also wanted to take inspiration from Jurassic Park and have unexpected results when they mixed dino DNA with common reptiles. A chameleon for this example, giving it the green stripe coloring and the swirled tail. It just happened to work out to make it look more like a Pokemon, because now the tail can coil and uncoil, similar to like a party blower, how you blow it out and it makes the kazoo-like noise, and it works so well in that aspect. And the reason I made it normal rock is because, well, rock for fossil, but I also made it normal because I want to think this Pokemon is more of a sound-based. Think Exploud and Jigglypuff, which are all represented by the normal type, because sound just is not a type yet, although it totally should be and could be. Obviously, the names come from Parasaurolophus and shrill, meaning a piercing noise, as well as cacophony, as a series of loud noises. Splicing reptilian DNA with the club fossil, scientists were able to resurrect Kylospar. Kylospar is inexperienced in fighting and flails around wildly, bludgeoning others with its club-like tail. Quick to anger, this Pokemon will pick a fight with anyone and often loses. These losses are taken in poor taste, and the Pokemon will sulk until its next challenge. Eventually, Kylospar's determination will pay off, and it will evolve into Kylosaur. Kylosaur will fight one another constantly, taking great pride in their cuts and bruises. The leader of the pack is the one with the most visible injuries. Many people believe this behavior led to their extinction. Again, due to the process of DNA splicing for fossil revival, scientists dispute this isn't the true form of this Fossilmon. So I've always loved the Ankylosaurus or Ankylosaurus, however you want to say it, and it's about time it got a Fossilmon. So I wanted to use the DNA splicing again, but this time with a tortoise. So the back armor of the Ankylosaurus looks more like a tortoise shell. And I gave it the fighting type because we only have one rock fighting, and it's a legendary that really nobody even talks about or likes. And I really like the idea of a defensive creature being more offensive in the Pokemon world, just because you always hear about Ankylosaurus being really defensive and not capable, but I wanted to imagine it just like punching the crap out of some stuff and just being really tough. So this is why I made the clubs resemble both like wrapped knuckles that you see on boxers, as well as just a straight up boxing glove. And the bumps on Kylo's bar resemble the wrestling helmets that you see in professional wrestling all the time, as well as the spikes, just to give it more of an Ankylosaurus look in the evolution, and the bruised eye and everything. I love the concept so much. And the names obviously come from Ankylosaurus, as well as spar, to fight, and soar, from after you fight. Now, at some point in your journey, you were given a starter from a different region, and I'm sure it's evolved once already, but maybe you didn't realize that in this region, Grovyle, Pignite, and Brionne evolve into different forms. In this region, Grovyle evolved to have rock-hard skin and their body gets covered in moss. Sceptile takes great pride in this new extra defensive skin, often challenging any and all Pokemon to a battle using agile strikes while capable of withstanding many hits. Not only is the appearance of Sceptile different, but the personality has shifted as well, making it very difficult to train for unexperienced trainers. So a while back, I asked a friend what starter they would like to see have a regional variant, and he told me a rock-type Sceptile. So I decided to make it a reality, and this is the end result. It was never really one of my favorites, and I already thought it got a Mega, so I definitely wouldn't have picked it for literally any reason. But darn it all, he asked me for it, so I made it happen. Instantly, I thought of like a gargoyle with like the speckled stonework and throwing some moss growing all over him, and I like the design, but it's definitely not my favorite. If I were to ever redo some of these, it'll definitely be one of them. Brionne evolves into this form of Primarina, highly skilled in swimming as well as combat using an aquatic spear. Preferring to live in colder climates, this Primarina has become an exceptional hunter of Ice-type Pokemon, Spheal in particular. This form also prefers to shout war cries as opposed to siren songs. So when I came up for the idea of a regional starter trio, of course Sceptile being the first, because I thought, why not just go ahead and continue? And I mean, they did it in Hisui, so why not do it for myself? I decided to do Primarina because I absolutely love Primarina, but I really wish it wasn't so feminine, you know? I want it to be a little more ambiguous. So I was like, well, what if I went the complete opposite direction of that and did a full-on Viking male buff man? But I was like, no, I don't really like that because like I said, I want to keep it more ambiguous. So I decided to go with the more Rise of the Valkyrie opera motif, and that's what gave it the hair, the spear, the classic unrealistic Viking helmet and the leather. And I just love the idea of water types using weapons, so the water spear was the perfect touch to add on to it. Hot flames explode into wings as Pignite evolves and soars into the skies as Emboar. This Pokemon loves to perform tricks and stunts to entertain others instead of fighting. Many Emboar are used in circus performances for their incredible acrobatics. As I thought about what fire starter I wanted to make regional, I knew it had to be fire flying because it matched up really well with the other two being fighting and rock. And as I looked through what fire starters haven't had a lot of attention, I kept coming back to Emboar and just thinking how well it works as the whole "when pigs fly" saying, and I had to do it. And immediately I thought of like giant fiery wings keeping it airborne. It was just too good of an opportunity. And I wanted to make no references to fighting whatsoever because darn it, we have way too many of those as it is. So I stripped that away from them and made the arms a little smaller because boy, the original design has just beefy hands and you can't do much with it at all, let me tell you. And then I gave it like an acrobatic leotard with really bright patterns to represent like the circus acting of the whole thing. And honestly, I really enjoy it. I like how it turned out. So that's the last few Fakemon that I've made over the past couple months. I'm still working on a whole lot more. I've made it my goal to at least create a new Pokemon or Fakemon for every unused type combination, and I almost have them all figured out, if not have slight ideas for them. And I'm actually in the process of creating a whole map for a special region. I don't want to give too many ideas or things away about it yet because it's not finalized and I'm still working it out for everything that I want to do. But eventually I will share everything in a big kind of video because I love that kind of stuff. Watching Loxton do it with his region, as well as Birdkeeper Toby with his, and it's really inspired me to kind of take hold of this and do it on my own and just see what I can come up with, because I like to think I'm a pretty creative person. So I'm hoping to have fun with it, and hopefully I can get that out before, 2 years go by. Don't blame me if it does take that long, though, because I have a lot going on, and I can only draw in so much spare time. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below which one you like the best of these new Fakemon, and let me know. Give me ideas of something you'd like to see in the future. I'm more than open to taking suggestions for things, specifically typings that I have not used myself or the Pokemon Company has not used. There's not a whole lot left, and like I said, I have some pretty good ideas for most things, but there are a few that I'm still kind of really iffy on of exactly which direction I should go with it. So by all means, I will take advice, suggestions, and all that jazz. Make sure to like the video if you did, comment like I said, and subscribe so you can keep seeing all these really neat Fakemon videos. I'm also going to link my Deviant Art page as well as my Reddit page in the description below if you're more apt to check those. I do keep them updated as soon as I finish a drawing. Honestly, it goes up a lot faster than these YouTube videos. So if you're interested in just those, feel free to just follow those, and I have no issues with that. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.